This is way harder than I thought it would be. That's what she said. Okay. So this year has been one of the roughest years of my life. I feel like I say that every year, but it just seems to outdo itself every year, so here we are. Back in January, I experienced psychosis. I was having a manic episode. And if you're watching this, maybe you know, or maybe you don't. It all depends kind of what you saw because I kind of put it out in different ways. I did post some videos on YouTube and I recently privated them because I'm just really embarrassed. Like, if you watch them, you could obviously tell that I was not there, like, at all. And it just really embarrasses me that I put that out to the public. And I was doing a lot of like live streaming on Instagram and like posting a lot of things. And I was getting like a lot of DMs from people asking me if I was okay. So here's kind of like the explanation of what that was. It was psychosis, if you didn't put two and two together. I didn't get diagnosed with bipolar until this year, but I have known for like the past decade that like something was off. Throughout like all of high school, I'd always get put on antidepressants because I was like very, very low and very like irritable and yeah, just always feeling like shit. And like every time they put me on the antidepressants, I'd kind of be like, okay, and then they'd take them off and then I'd just go like back to the bottom again, and it was kind of just like that cycle. But I was never properly diagnosed. I was always like dealing with a lot of social anxiety as well. And then I went off to college and things weren't getting any better. At the beginning of the school year last year, so around like September-ish, I went to my doctor saying how I had a lot of social anxiety, and she prescribed me something. I honestly don't even remember what it was. Medications like take a few months to actually like show their full effect. And I was on it, I don't know, like 2 months or something, and then my doctor asked me like if I was feeling any different, and I said no, I didn't feel anything at all. So then she like upped the dosage, and I think that's kind of like a factor that contributed to my psychosis. Because yeah, I started in September and then she like upped the dosage, I guess in like November-ish. And then near the end of December was kind of like when it was all starting. So I'm pretty sure like the antidepressants, they were too strong. So there was a point in like the middle of December where I was like, oh my god, I'm feeling like myself again. But little did I know it was about to like skyrocket. So that confidence that I have and everything, it went up times 1,000. But I didn't realize it at the moment. Obviously no one realized it, and like it's not my doctor's fault that she did that, because we all didn't know that I had bipolar. On top of that, I was smoking weed like pretty much every day at that point. Like I started smoking weed a few years ago, but kind of just like more for fun, just because I like the feeling of getting fucked up. But in like the last year before this all happened, that's kind of when it was like every single day, and not just because I like getting fucked up, but more because like getting fucked up was to numb the pain, you know? And on top of that, I was doing like other drugs too. Not every single day, but I was doing them. And that probably contributed to it as well, because they are stimulants, so ba-bam, they make you go up. The first week of January was my like, woo! The first week of January was like manic, and that's when I was doing all those Instagram lives and blah 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 blah, and I spent like a bunch of money, like lot of money. I don't want to say how much, but just like picture it, okay? Which is normal when you're experiencing psychosis. So basically the first week of January was when I was like really, really manic, and people could tell like something was not okay. And I ended up getting taken in an ambulance to the hospital, and I didn't understand why I was in an ambulance. I just remember like getting put in it, and then they just started like injecting me with needles, and I didn't know why. And when I got there, I was in like the emerge section, and I kept like trying to leave my bed to go talk to people, so I got in trouble and they took me to the psych ward where they locked me up. That was like a pretty traumatizing experience, because when you're manic and things like that are happening to you, you don't understand why they're happening. Like in my case, and in a lot of people's cases, you're not trying to do anything wrong like intentionally. You're trying to actually like do good for the world, and you have good intentions because you think you're like a god or something and that you can fix everything. So when you're getting locked up for it, you don't understand why, because you're just trying to do good. That's, I mean, in my case at least, and in a lot of cases, not all of them though. And when I say like I was locked up, I mean like it was kind of like a jail cell. Like it was just a little like square room with just a bed, like just a bed. It was like pitch black. There were cameras in the corners of the room, and it was like heavy duty locked door, like not just a lock, like a, I don't even know what to call it. And I was just locked in there, and I didn't understand why. So of course I was kicking at the door really, really hard, screaming, trying to get out, to the point where I broke my toe. So then I was screaming on the ground, crying because I broke my toe. So then what did I proceed to do? I took off my prosthetic leg and was like banging the door to get let out, and I got in trouble for that. So what did they do? They took away my prosthetic leg, so I basically like couldn't move because one foot was broken and the other one was non-existent. So yeah. So I mean, I don't want to go too in depth about my like experience in the hospital, because that's not what this is all about, but that's kind of like the gist of it, you know. I was in the hospital for like a month, and even when I got out of the hospital, I was not like completely back to normal. I was manic for about like almost 3 months, like 2.5 months. And I was on like so many different medications too. Like that's another part of it. They just fuck up your body like so bad. The reason I really want to speak out on this is because I feel like a lot of people don't even know what being manic is. And I didn't really fully understand what being manic was either until I actually went through it. And I feel like you never really understand what it would be like unless you went through it. But I want to try and explain it as best as possible, because I feel like it would help you, and I feel like it would help me as well, just letting it out and sharing my experience. I do like try and research on YouTube like videos of people talking about it and stuff, but to be honest, I haven't like really found anyone actually like sit down and talk about what it feels like. So if I can be that person for someone, then I've done my job. And I feel like me explaining my point of view will help like close this chapter of my life. The psychosis itself was very hard, but out of the whole process of the entire thing, that was actually the easiest part, because when I got out of the psychosis, that's when shit got hard. Because like, as you may know, bipolar means like the two ends of the spectrum. So when I am like high like that, well, when that's over, I'm gonna experience the low, and like my high was pretty freaking high, so my low was very low. I went into like a very, very, very deep depression. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and it got to the point like for 2 months straight, I literally did not get out of bed. I only got out of bed to go to the bathroom, and then like maybe once every 2 weeks just to take a shower, and even that took like all the effort in me. My mom would bring me food to eat because I didn't come out of bed, and like I was on so many different medications, and that took a while to like figure out, and then they finally like figured out a combination that works for me. After all like the initial like medications got taken away from me, they put me on lithium, 900 milligrams, which is a mood stabilizer. So like, yes, that kept me from like going manic and keeping me stable, but it wasn't doing anything to help with my depression. And then that's when it started to get really, really bad. So that's when I went on a combination of the lithium with lamotrigine. So for the lamotrigine, I'm on 200 milligrams. And that is an antidepressant, but it's like a good antidepressant for bipolar because it's one that like shouldn't cause you to go manic, which is always nice. So that took like a few like months to kick in. Like there was a bit where like I was not crying and depressed every single day, but I didn't feel like okay at the same time. Like I was just kind of like blech. Like I just felt like shit. I felt sluggish. I felt like I was just dragging myself around all the time, and I had no motivation. And the thing is, I've been feeling like that for the past decade, but I just feel like I was never treated properly. So I was just so done with feeling this way. Like I just kept saying like, yeah, I'm not depressed, but like I don't feel okay. Like I just hate that I'm like forcing myself to do everything. Like why can't I just wake up and just feel like okay? And then about like a month and a half ago or something, I had that moment. I just woke up one day and I felt fine, and I was like, well, this feels weird. I don't feel like absolute shit. Okay. And like since then, it's kind of just been like that. I feel like I'm starting to be myself again. And like I'm content with myself, and I'm motivated. And I feel happy, which sounds really weird to say because I haven't said that in like a decade. I'm dealing still with a lot of social anxiety, but that's something that like medication can't really fix. Like yes, there might be something that can fix it temporarily, but not long term. So like it's gonna take a lot of therapy to work out this social anxiety, but I'm ready for it now. And I think it's because like, you know, events happen in my life. I get very depressed or manic, and it's like every time something like that happens, I like lose myself. And then every time I have to like try and find like my middle ground again, and then something else happens. So then I lose myself again, and then I have to find myself, lose myself, find myself, and it's like, it's never ending. So it's like every time that happens, I like have to deal with my social anxiety again. So I hope that like now that I've been properly diagnosed, I'm on the like right medication so far, I can finally like stay this way for a more like consistent amount of time and actually work on the social anxiety part. While I was depressed, like I wasn't really feeling any emotions. Like I was crying and I was sad, but it was kind of just like a numb feeling, you know? So when I got out of the depression and into like this stage of my life, it wasn't easy either, because now it's like everything is hitting me. Like everything that happened in this past year, it's like I'm finally processing it all now, and like, how did this get this way? What did I do? Like just all, I don't know, there's just so many feelings that comes along with it, and like processing, and even just like the experience of being in the hospital and everything was like very traumatizing. Like dealing with friends and family and not knowing how people are gonna react, I deal a lot with like thinking about the fact that I did post things on YouTube and Instagram, and it like really embarrasses me. And it's hard because I'm like, I don't know who saw it. I don't know who saw what, how many people saw it. And like all those people that messaged me asking if I was okay, like what did they think? Did they think I was like on something, or like what? Or do people think that I actually thought those things? Which is like kind of the point I want to get at with this whole like video, is what like even is psychosis? Like I want to speak on my experience, so like I don't want people to think that this is how everybody feels, because I can't say that. I know this is how my experience was and how it is for a lot of people. So I just want to like clarify that. So basically, like when you're manic, you don't like know you're manic, or at least in my case, I didn't. Like it was so intense, like my episode, like I had no idea. When it's happening, you don't know that like it's going in that direction. Like again, it just started out with me feeling like really good, really motivated. I was like, oh, like I'm starting to be myself again. I'm starting to get confident, stuff like that. But then like week by week, it was just like escalating way too high. Like basically, you have a lot of delusions, and I didn't even know what that word really meant until like now, and I don't really like the word either. I don't know, but like you're kind of living in a dream reality, and I really like didn't understand how to explain like what I was feeling until like recently, because I'm processing it all. But it's like normally, okay, think about it. You have goals, you have dreams, things like that. And when you have a goal or a dream or anything like that, or a thought in mind, like your brain, your conscious tells you like, is this like a realistic idea? Do I have enough time for this goal? Do I have enough money for this goal? Things like that. But that part of your brain is completely shut off, completely. You don't even have like a conscious to tell you yes or no, right or wrong. It's just gone. So that's why you do what you do and you say what you say, because you're literally just saying and doing your goals and your dreams and everything. And that's also why people usually like spend a bunch of money, because like, for example, I thought I was a millionaire, so I was just spending a bunch of money. I tried to buy like $1 million property, things like that, because money is not like a thought in your head. You want that house, you go buy that house. Like that's the thing. And that's actually very common. Like there's so many people that buy really expensive houses or buy really expensive cars while they're manic, and then they get out of their episode and they're like, shit, I'm in a bunch of debt, what do I do now? So luckily, people like stopped me and brought me to a hospital before I actually went ahead with certain things. But yeah, and like there are like, that's why there are some people who do commit crimes, and it's not necessarily because they want to commit a crime, it's just they don't realize that it's wrong to do. Because you don't have a filter telling you what's right and wrong. And also there's a lot of times where people put themselves in serious danger or put the people around them in danger. Again, not necessarily always intentional, but they just don't realize that that's actually something dangerous that they're doing. And the thing that really bothers me is like, you know, I feel like people portray someone who's like psycho as like a serial killer or something like that, because you know that's how like movies and stuff portray it, but like most cases are not like that. I mean, there are cases where people do things like that, but in most of the cases when you're having a psychotic episode, it's not that. A lot of times you want to actually do good for the world, but you end up doing dangerous things in order to get there because you don't have that filter. And a lot of the times you think you're like some sort of god, which is what I thought I was. And that's very normal to feel. So like I said, you don't have a filter. And on top of that, when you're in that moment, you don't realize that you don't have that filter. You don't even know that you don't have your conscious, if that makes sense. Another thing is you usually don't sleep a lot because your brain is just so like wired with thoughts constantly running all the time. Like your brain doesn't have a chance to shut down and sleep. Like that week before I went in the hospital, I was awake for an entire week straight, like not 1 minute of sleep at all. I couldn't. I wasn't tired. My brain was working in overdrive. My heart hurt so bad because I wasn't getting any sleep. Like I literally think if like I didn't get taken to the hospital, like I felt like I was gonna die or something. Like my heart hurt so much from not sleeping. And I was talking so much. Like I had no voice left. I ended up like chugging cough syrup to try and help it, which don't do that. Don't chug cough syrup. That does not help with a manic state. And like, that's the thing is like, you end up talking a lot. Your like thoughts aren't making any sense. You're jumping from one thought to another because that's what it's doing in your brain. Like all the ideas and thoughts you have, they're just all coming out at once. So yeah, when you speak, it just doesn't sound like it's making any sense because your brain is working like running 1 million miles per second. And then like now out of the manic state, like I explained, there was the whole depression part of it. And now there's kind of this like in-between part where it's like, I feel good, I feel happy, but like I'm really processing this whole experience because it was a big traumatic experience. And there's just so many emotions to feel about it. And I don't even know where to begin with that. Like there's so many different aspects of the whole thing. Like I feel so embarrassed about all the things that I did and said, which I don't even want to like touch on what I did and said. Because I'm just so embarrassed by the whole thing. And not only that, but like some of those things I like I like posted on social media and stuff like that. So it's like now a ton of people also saw it. So, and then I'm like constantly thinking like, who saw what? Like how many people saw what? What do people know about the situation? Like some people know that it's because I was manic, and then some people, I don't know what they think. Like, do they just think that I actually thought all those things that I thought? So another reason I want to put out this video is to like let everyone know, if they didn't know, that yes, that was all a manic episode, and hopefully you're a little more educated on what it feels like to be in that state. And that like, of course, I did not mean any of those things that I said. If you witnessed any of it, I didn't mean any of it. When you're in that state, you literally don't know what you're saying. I kind of like to tell people that it's like that feeling of when you're on like drugs or you're like wasted as fuck, like that kind of type feeling, but like times that by 1,000. Like kind of like when you're wasted and you don't really care, you just kind of do what you want, you say what you want, like that kind of, but times 1,000. And like the high that you feel kind of in your brain when you're like doing drugs, like times 1,000. And I mean, it's the same thing with the come down technically. Like when you do drugs the next day, the come down is rough. So picture a high that's times 1,000. Well, then that come down is gonna be times 1,000. And that's why I didn't want to live anymore until like a bit ago. I'm thankful that my friends came to save me. If they didn't, it would have just escalated more and more and more. But they caught on after a bit that like something was not okay with me. And I do want to clarify actually that like in that like 3 months of my life, I don't remember like 80% of it. I remember like a few teeny bits, but a lot of this information of like what actually happened was from like my friends and family telling me what I did and stuff. Like, so that's kind of rough. That's another thing that I'm trying to process is it's like I lost myself, like, because I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what I did. And it's like I'm trying to put all the pieces together, but I can't because I literally just don't remember. Like my brain chemistry had, like, it changed so much. There was so much intensity put on it that like I kind of got like amnesia a bit. And not just from those 3 months, but even like my life before all this happened. I forget like years of my life now, and I'm trying to make it slowly come back, but like just because so much happened in my brain, it's kind of like a concussion, you know, every time you have a manic episode. But anyway, like my friends, I guess, they saw something was up, so they would come to my room and like stay with me and make sure I was okay. And then they somehow got like a hold of my mom's number and called her, and then she came down, and then they called an ambulance, or yeah, I guess. But like I am thankful that they were there to like catch it and help me out. But it does again come with some embarrassment that I acted that way around them and around a lot of people. And of course, like if they're my real friends, which they are, like they know that that wasn't actually me and they understand. But it's still like it's embarrassing that I acted that way around people. I've also come to realize that like it's scary to think of how vulnerable I was during that time. Like about the fact that I literally had no control over my body, over what I was saying or doing. And that's a really scary feeling. And like, I don't know, I feel like you do experience that kind of when you're like doing drugs and stuff, like not being able to control yourself, which is maybe a reason why some people do it, because they like that feeling. I mean, I like that feeling of not like having control of myself, but like this was like on another level. Like I said, times 1,000. It's like I was so vulnerable. I had no control of my body, and that's so scary. So there's definitely like a lot of emotions and things to deal with during the episode, after the episode, the whole recovery, like everything. It is like such a long process, and it is normal. Like you're not just gonna come out of your episode and be all good. Like no, it's normal that it takes like at least a year to kind of get you back on track. And yeah, this happened January, now it's September, and it seems like forever, but at the same time, looking back at where I was then versus now, like this is a lot of recovery. I have like gone pretty quickly considering what the circumstances were. But like I said, I'm still dealing with the whole like anxiety part of it and stuff, and just processing this whole event. So I feel like it will take at least a year or more, definitely more, to kind of just deal with all this. Like it's also hard because like while you are manic, like it feels amazing. Like you feel so good, but like the aftermath of it all is so horrible, like so not worth it. And it's hard to like cope with it because I look back and it's like, oh shit, like I felt so good then. Like it was such a good high. Like I was so happy in that moment. Like I wish I could feel that type of happiness again. But like, no, you don't want to, because of everything that happens, like the consequences of all of it, you know? So like, again, that's of course like one of the reasons why I'm on medication, is to like stabilize that, to make sure I don't go too high and I don't go too low either. And of course, like drugs and alcohol, like that affects the whole thing too. So, you know, my psychiatrist always like warns me about the effects of drugs and alcohol. But I mean, like, I'm like a young woman, like I like to do things like that, you know? Especially when I'm with my friends, like that's just like what you do. Like my whole situation right now is like weed is a hell no. Like I can't anymore. It used to be a good high, like it would chill me out so much, like, and I would do it all the time. But after this like event, I guess just because like my brain chemistry has changed, like now when I do it, it trips me out like so bad. And it sucks, like it kind of pisses me off because like I used to love getting high so much, and it's like now I can't. Like I've tried it a few times, and every time I learn my lesson, I think I'm like good to do it, and then I do it, and then it's just a bad trip and I just want to get out of it, but I can't. I have to like wait a few hours for it to like wear off. So yeah, I can't really do that. And then there's like some other drugs that I still do, even though I shouldn't, because my psychiatrist says it's like I'm playing Russian roulette with my mania every time I do drugs, because the drugs are like a stimulant, so it plays with this part of my brain, and like alcohol, well, that's a depressant, so this part, so it's like I'm trying to be like this, but then every time I do those things it goes like this. So yeah, with the whole alcohol thing, it's not like as much as a concern because it won't make me go like super manic, but that's more like with the whole depression thing. But like other types of drugs that are like stimulants, yeah, those are kind of really risky and can make you go manic. And of course I like don't want to experience that again. But like it's hard when like, you know, you like doing those things and your friends do it all the time and you're hanging out with your friends and like they're all doing it around you, and like, you know, it's hard like not to. So I mean, that's kind of something I'm still like dealing with. Although all of this happened and it was one of the hardest experiences of my life, I feel like it had to happen. Like I said, for this past decade, it's just been like, and it's like, this was kind of like the whole tipping point, and it finally like kind of got things, it had to get this bad for it to finally like go in the right direction, if that makes sense. Like now I've finally been like officially diagnosed with bipolar, and I'm finally on some medications that like work for me, because like I said, I've tried medications all throughout high school and college and stuff, but like nothing really worked. And I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. And it's also like helped me process and like realize why certain things happened to me in the past, why I reacted to them that way. And it like now kind of put all the pieces together of like, okay, this is why this happened this way and things like that. I've like truly realized like what's important to me and what's not important to me, and how to like truly be happy without people and without doing drugs every single day. Like I can finally say that I am myself and I am happy and I'm content. And that's something I haven't been able to say in like the last decade. And like I've always relied on like people and boyfriends and stuff to like fulfill my happiness. And I don't think that's really good. I've always wanted to make myself happy, but I never could. And I can finally say that I can make myself happy. I don't need a certain amount of friends or things to make me happy. I honestly don't find that important at all. I don't really care if people don't like me, because all I care about is being myself and being happy with myself. I feel like if you're the best version of yourself, then like nothing else in the world matters. I would rather have people like judge me and hate me for myself than have people love me for someone that I'm not. So honestly, like my main goal is to just be the realest, truest version of me. And I feel like I am getting there better than I have in the past decade. Like I'm finally feeling that way with myself, and now it's kind of just getting over that social anxiety part so that I can like transfer that energy to the people around me. Because I know, and if you knew me like when I was kind of a kid, like Karina is like a bubbly, sassy bitch, like, you know, but I completely lost myself because of like, I mean, life happens, certain traumatizing events happen, bipolar happens, like, yeah, and I'm finally on the track of getting back to that real Karina. So I think I kind of like covered everything. That was a lot to like let out. Again, like I hope that you learned something, and I hope that this helped someone out, anyone who's like going through this or wondering what this feels like. Or, you know, if you just go through shit and you want to know that you're not alone, because everyone has a different journey through life. Everyone is the way they are for a reason. So that's why I try not to judge, because you just don't know. And like I said, everyone has a different journey. So I think like that's the beauty behind it all, is like everyone is so different with their journey through life. Like I said earlier, like doing this whole thing is also helping me, because I feel like I've just been holding this in for so long, and I don't know who saw what, who knows what, whatever. So it's like, I just want to put it out there for whoever wants to look at it. Like, if you were one of those people that saw the way I was in January and you're seeing this, thank you. If you're not and you had no idea, well, here you go. Like, I just want to put it out there and like share my experience, so that it's just done. It's over with. I don't need to like stress anymore about what do people think. No, like I just said it. This was the experience. This was it. So it just helps me like let go of all this tension that I'm feeling inside of me. So, yeah, if you guys like have any questions or anything, like feel free to message me, DM me, whatever, like I'm here. Bye.